All right, hi again, fourth graders. So I don't know if you watched the previous video that I created where I showed you how to make equivalent fractions by multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the same number. And the reason we're able to do that is because remember, if you multiply any number times one, then the number doesn't change. Well, with fractions, any fraction that has the same number on the top and the bottom in your numerator and your denominator is equivalent to 1. So if you multiply a fraction um, by a fraction where the number and the top and the bottom are the same, you're basically multiplying times 1. So even though your new result, your new product might look different, it's still the same. It's an equivalent fraction. So I'll give you an example for three of them right here. So let's say you want to make an equivalent fraction out of 9/12. So what you do is you pick the number 2, or any number you'd like to. You notice how there's a 2 on the top and a 2 on the bottom. Remember, 2 out of 2 is the same thing as 1, so I'm basically multiplying times 1. But when I multiply 9 times 2, I get 18, and on the bottom I get 24. So what I'm saying that 9/12 is equivalent to 18/24. And you can do the same thing. Let's say you want to make an equivalent fraction down here, and I'll keep the calculations pretty simple. Again, multiply by the same number on top in the numerator and the same number on the bottom in the denominator. And 4 times 2, that gives us 8. 16 times 2 gives us 32. So we're saying that 4/16 is equivalent to 18/32. If you wanted to, you can make a number line or fraction bars, and you can create those two fractions, and you can actually compare them, and you'll see that they're the same. Or you could just use multiplication and just know that you've done it accurately. And again, you can say, okay, well, if I multiply times 2 on top, I can multiply times 2 on the bottom. 2 out of 2 is the same thing as 1. 11 times 2, that's 22. 22 times 2, that's 24. So we're saying that 11/22 is the same thing, or it's equivalent to 22/24. Now, what about when you have fractions that look pretty large, or sometimes they have large numbers in the numerator or denominator, but you don't want to multiply? Well, you can also divide. Because remember, if you divide any number by 1, the number doesn't change, right? So 5 divided by 1 is 5, 10 divided by 1 is 10, and so on. So why can't we do the same thing for fractions? And we can. You just set up your little division. Let's say I want to divide both the top and the bottom by 3, because I know that 3 goes into both of them evenly. 9 divided by 3, well, that's 3. 12 divided by 3, well, that's going to be 4. And you have just created an equivalent fraction using division, because you divided both the top and the bottom by the same number. And the way you can check that, right, you can check it like this. You say, well, let's check. And the way you check division is multiplication. You take your 3 out of 4, multiply that again by the same number on the top and the bottom, and you'll see we get 3 times 3 is 9 and 4 times 3 is 12. So we're right back to where we started, so we know that it's accurate. Same thing down here. Let's say I want to divide both the top and the bottom by 2, because I know 2 divides evenly into both. Well, 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. 16 divided by 2 is going to be 8. And now if you want, you can check to make sure that you've created this equivalent fraction. Is 4/16 actually equivalent to 2/8? Well, you take your 2 over 8 and you multiply times the number 2 on the top and the bottom. And when you multiply 2 times 2, you get 4, and 8 times 2 is 16. And the same thing holds true down here for this fraction as well. So for this one, I can only divide by 11, because if I divide the top and the bottom by 1, remember the only two factors of 11 are 1 and 11, because 11 is prime. So if I divide 11 by 1, I'm going to get 11 again, but I want to actually make an equivalent fraction. I don't want the same fraction. So I'm going to divide the top by 11 and the bottom by 11. 11 divided by 11, well, anything divided by itself is 1. And if I divide 22 by 11, well, 11 goes into 22 twice. So 11 22nds is actually equivalent to 1/2. And you can check to see if that is accurate. You can say, well, if I start with 1/2 and I multiply both of them times 11, 1 times 11 is 11 and 2 times 11 is 22. So we know that we've done this accurately. So you can certainly use division. You can use multiplication if you want to. You can take any fraction you want and you can use multiplication and create an equivalent fraction. But there's also times where you can use division. You can start with a fraction and divide the top and the bottom by the same number and you get your equivalent fraction. So I just wanted to make sure that we showed you both ways. You can multiply to make equivalent fractions, or you can divide to create equivalent fractions. Okay, if you have any questions, just reach out to your homeroom teachers, okay? Thank you.